All right, one of our favorite guys in really all of sports, but in college baseball, he is the guy. The number one seed, his team is back. Tony Vitello, who we would all hold against him that he is a Mizzou guy, now back as the head vol with Tennessee baseball. They open up tomorrow night, and the coach joins us now. Good morning, Tony.
Morning. I appreciate all that. For
Uh,
sure. It's a good way to start the day here and all that, especially not holding anything against.
Hey, you have a lot of fans here in Omaha. Not only because of your success on the field, but for your observations on life and other things. Because you got to understand, this is a big convenience store town, and we take our ice seriously. So when you say that you like Sonic Ice, there are a lot of people that go, "Yeah, that is the best ice." Wait till he hears about Quick Trip Ice, which is a local convenience store. And I tell him, well, down in Knoxville, they have a Buc-ee's and they have a Weigel's. You could do the best ice cubes ranking, and people would love that.
No doubt. I'm smelling an NIL deal there as well. Maybe not for myself. And I'm going off on a tangent that's been a bit of an issue. But I'll tell you what, y'all got some Italian food here too. You're not messing around in that category.
All right, so now this isn't your first rodeo, obviously. So what are the stops then? Because everybody wants to go steak, but I'm glad you brought up the Italian scene too.
Yeah, no, it's great. I've been to Pasta Amore and Avoli, and each time I've been able to hit up about two spots that I really like. And yesterday was a little hectic. We had a conference meeting with everybody that's participating to kick things off. Tonight we have a opening ceremonies deal, so I'm gonna have to squeeze in my first run, somewhere here soon.
Hey, quick question. You worked for him. He coached here. Did Dave Van Horn ever recruit you out of high school?
No, nobody did. I went to a Jesuit high school where my dad coached. And again, that's another thing that's here. There's an incredible amount of private school tradition here. So I started out at an NAIA school down in Mobile, Alabama. Dave Van Horn did recruit one of my best friends, Jace Tingler, who's now the bench coach for the Twins.
He
creeped into a little bit of Missouri because of his Kansas City roots. But no, I'm just grateful he recruited me to coach in the SEC. I would never have this job if that wouldn't have started.
I want to go there with Dave Van Horn too. The relationship that you had with him and what that has helped out in the success, the wild success that you've had in your time at Tennessee. I know you can always point to certain influences. I got to imagine Dave Van Horn's right up there.
Yeah, I mean, I would start with my dad. First of all, I was around him the most. And then, you guys were badmouthing Missouri there, but Coach Jamison, just a tremendous dude that gave me my first chance. But again, Coach Van Horn gave me my first chance in the SEC. And the biggest thing he did, I was definitely able to learn from him, but it was by observing and watching what he was doing. The biggest thing he did for me was kind of show me how to handle people you work with. And he just created a great work environment for the coaching staff, including myself. And that's big for me. I've kind of gone off again on teammate tangents and things like that. So to me, while I was there, he was a great teammate, and it's a fun place to work.
Let's just go there. Sunday night, how much did that bug you? That the question that was asked the day before, because you have been very successful, and it's not easy to get back here. And you're back here. The journey is one of the most difficult in all of college sports, in college baseball. But how Sunday you were stewing, and then it came out afterwards. Walk us through when you sat down. You get back to the College World Series, not easy, but you had to get something off your chest.
Yeah, I did. In a weird way, we lose Saturday. And again, that's part of the deal. It doesn't matter what anybody is seated, especially in our sport. And we got a taste of it right away, not just on video, but then in game one. Evansville was the real deal. And they were going to fight you tooth and nail. And they beat us on Saturday. A question was made. And probably a guy that's trying to get me to just, kind of show lack of composure, which I've done a couple times. So whatever, I get where he's coming from. But it actually helped me because it served as a distraction. We played so early Saturday in a night game on Sunday rather than thinking about what if we lose or what did I do wrong in that game, and it was all about how can I punch this guy in the face, and that wouldn't be allowed.
No.
No. So I watched Good Will Hunting, where he punches some guys in the face and relaxed, and then the next day it was nice. Then the next day all was forgotten. It's just get into the routine. And after the game, I was talking to the team, and the one thing I said, last thing I said was, Blake, I got your back here, and I had to go right into that press conference. And so I kind of blacked out, but I think all the things I was stewing about on Saturday with all that free time we had, again, it was kind of nice. It served as a distraction, but it came out. And when I was done, I was like, oh gosh, what did I just do? But I think for the most part, people got where I was coming from.
So that is a good rule of thumb. Instead of lashing out physically on someone, just watch Good Will Hunting and let them do it for you. I love this. This is great.
Yeah.
Coach, what you take in some familiar faces from a year ago, but also some new faces too. You guys were, I know you won't make this excuse, but I'll make it for you. I thought you were on a tough part of the bracket a year ago with the eventual national champions in LSU. What do you take from last year into this experience coming up?
Yeah, I think having to open the tournament with Skeens is incredibly difficult.
Mm-hmm.
He got us pretty good, but we did wear him down and made a little bit of a late game run. At least had an opportunity to win that game. But I think the knowledge that when you come here, it's a party around you. It's a party prior to getting here, like you mentioned Sunday night. All the guys are celebrating. But when you get down to playing ball between the lines, you're going to have to beat somebody that's extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Not just that has that grit that Evansville has, and not just that talent that team had last year in LSU, but a whole combination of things. And you're also going to have to handle all the media and all the things that come with it. So it's a lot to manage. And you need to rely on your teammates that have been here before. Like you mentioned, we do have some familiar faces. And then as coaches, we've just got to do our best to navigate through the schedule and kind of put our guys in as good of a position as possible. Again, once the balls start flying around or pitches are thrown, it's going to be a lot of talent on the field. But you can maybe get out of the blocks a little cleaner or handle some things a little better with some leadership, whether it be from the coaches or the players that have seen this whole deal.
Tony Vitello, head baseball coach at Tennessee. You had a quote. You've had some great quotes, and if people listen close enough, I mean, you're telling them everything that makes up the nuts and bolts of why Tennessee baseball has been so successful. But you had a line after you won in Hoover. There's just a lot of opinions that you hear. Don't let anyone put limits on what you can or cannot do. Not every team with their players are built to hear that message and do something with it. Why is this team different that you can send messages to them, talk about playing for each other and being the best teammate you can before winning, and these guys can handle that message?
Yeah, I don't know how this thing will go here. I don't think anybody can predict the future, especially in our sport. But regardless how our team finishes, they'll go down as one of the more unique teams I've ever been around, especially in this day and age. We kind of criticize the new generation and social media and all. They want to be coached. They want to be told what to do. And in 22, we had maybe as much success as we did this year, but that was a group that literally kind of took over the whole thing. It was such a loud presence that group had, and they kind of became the ringleaders, and we just kind of had to try and adjust them when they went too far, which they had a tendency to do. This group just wants to be told what to do, when to do it, and then it's almost like winding up a tin soldier or whatever it might be, and they do it. And I think they are willing to take on whatever task you give them in a very unselfish way. Let's talk about the guy that's from here, Dalton Vargo.
Yeah.
He's one of the best hitters, I think, in our league, but he's had to take on kind of a platoon role and has done it about is excited about it and is unwilling, to put himself ahead of the team, as you can imagine. So I just think it's a really unique team that's very unselfish and wants to be coached, which again is kind of rare these days.
And kind of with that, Coach, not only what this team's identity is, but your program as a whole, since you took over, when you're recruiting, when you're having to, like every other coach, having to recruit out of the transfer portal as well. What do you perceive that identity of Tennessee baseball is? What when people think of Tennessee baseball and the great opportunity to play for you and that program, what do you think is the first thing they think of with Tennessee baseball?
One thing is tough, but because I think it's changed a little bit now, it's got to be the fans. I mean, our fans were nuts on Sunday. It was so loud in there, and they were cheering. Our guy Xander, our lefty, he picked off a ton. You know, it was a lefty first move and all that stuff. They were cheering every time he picked off, loud. So I think the fan base is now capturing people's attention. But when they peel back the program, I think the kids know at our place they're going to be allowed to be themselves. They look at our guys in uniform and they realize, you know, strength and conditioning thing is going very well for us. Quentin Eberhardt's our guy. It's unbelievable. But the real answer, I think, to your question is they're going to allow to be themselves. And, you know, my dad is from Chicago. He's a diehard Cubs fan. We were able to go to that Game 7 where they finally won the dang thing. And, you know, I think Joe Madden, that's sports for you. They run him out of town, like 2 years later?
Yep.
But I think his little thing with that talented roster, which they had about as much talent. So, you know, it's not like he was creating something out of nothing. I think he really allowed those guys to feel natural on the field and be who they are as a personality. And look at all the teams, speaking of MLB, that have won a World Series, huge personalities, you know. Heck, that John Crook team, we can talk about that for 30 minutes, you know, and the Mets special and all that. So I think we make our guys work hard and we try and develop them because they are trying to become young men, but you got to let them be themselves as well.
You don't feel this way about your second baseman, but I have a tendency to think, man, when Christian Moore is talked about nationally, there's still a tinge of underappreciation of not only the kind of year he's had, but the kind of career he has had. Give us a story about Christian Moore that makes him special as one of the best in college baseball, even if the Golden Spikes Committee doesn't want to recognize him.
I think just the background, and I think, hey, it's not the only thing. It's all kinds of people. He didn't make SEC All-Tournament. He's arguably our best player. We won the tournament. You know, Triple Crown SEC, and I'm a big Charlie fan, so I don't have any qualms there with who they gave it to. But I think it all starts back to his roots. We recruited him as a pitcher shortstop at a young age. And then in high school, he had a reputation for being a guy that was no doubt going to be a sign in the draft. You know, we can't be around these kids nonstop, even though we recruited them and we stay in touch with them. And rumors come out, you know, that maybe, you know, he's not as coachable or he just wants, you know, I wouldn't say selfish, but he wants what he wants. So this is a guy that we're not even going to get on campus. And to be honest with you, you got to hedge your bets with 11.7. We were not expecting him to show up at all. And when he surprised us, we had to scramble a little bit and make sure that we were going to be under our 11.7 to accommodate him. And when he came in, just like a lot of freshmen, there was certainly some maturing that had to be done. But we were pretty surprised at how good of a kid he was and how he wanted to be told what to do. And again, like a lot of kids, he'd mess up and we would correct him and he'd listen. And I think just kind of that background that's kind of followed him a little bit has maybe bled into some of this weird lack of recognition. But here's the bottom line. When the money is on the line or the fire's as hot as possible on the field or the situation's as competitive as it can be, I don't know that I've been around, you know, guys who handle it as well as he does.
Coach, forgive me for asking this question because it's going to be, I'm sure you're going to be asked it today. I'm sure it's more of the basic or cliche questions when people just look at your stats in general and say, wow, 173 home runs. I mean, we're talking gorilla ball era type numbers. It's not necessarily, what are you guys doing at the plate right now? But when you look at college baseball players being able now over the last handful of years to adjust to the BB-Core era, and we're seeing the ball fly out more, when you do look at just your overall hitter's approach and going all the way back to fall ball when you're getting some new faces in, what are you seeing as a coach, not only with just within your team, but seeing the long ball being a lot more prevalent in the college game again?
I think these guys are now getting resources. We talked about schemes, and I've kind of used this example a few times. to commit yourself to be in the Air Force is an unbelievable commitment mentally and physically. And kudos to anyone who can take on that challenge and finish the job too. Skeen sees his future in pro baseball. They actually encouraged him to transfer. He now gets plopped down to a place like Nebraska, or as Creighton has done at time with sports too, where you're put on a pedestal and you're given everything you need to be a success, including a tutor right next to you to help with your homework, and a nutritionist texting you and saying, hey, are you hydrated, and all this stuff. Right. Everything you could possibly imagine is now a resource for these guys. So whatever their ultimate potential is, as far as strength, speed, staying healthy, I think it's available to them. And maybe that type of stuff is why you see all ACC and SEC teams in here at this particular point. And then on top of that, I think there's a little bit of a theory, especially from some of the ESPN guys, that ball is playing a little hotter, whether it's wound tighter or whatever it might be. So, and then again, for our guys, I'd be remiss, and I'm not trying to recruit anybody, but our weight room is a different deal. This is the first year. I don't know if I should be saying this on the air.
Go ahead.
But this is the first year we didn't have somebody quit the first month of the season, or sometimes a week in like the last 3 or 4 years. And our weight room's a little different deal. I'm sure other people work hard too. So when you see our guys in uniform, that's the very best version of what they can be physically at this age.
Man, Tony, we always appreciate it. Glad to have you back here. I know it's not easy getting here, and good luck, and we hope you're here for a while.
I would be good with that. I appreciate you all, and thanks so much to the city. It's done right like no other here.
Hey, thank you, Tony. That's Tony Vitello, who is the head baseball coach at Tennessee.